course. So in this video, we are going to be creating three creative menu effects by just using HTML and CSS. No JavaScript, no nothing. So the first menu which we are going to be creating is once we hover our mouse over to it, so it will now give us border top and border bottom right here and this cool animation. Now the second menu which we are going to be creating is once we hover our mouse over to it, so now it will give us this kind of cool animation right here. Okay, so now the third one which you're going to be creating is now once we hover our mouse over to it, so it will now use us this kind of animation. Okay, so this is what we are going to be building by just using HTML and CSS, no JavaScript, no nothing. So I guess without wasting any time, now let's jump into our code editor and write our code. In the previous video, we've created these 5 creative buttons. In this video, we are going to be creating a creative effects on menus. So for that, I'm going to have to create a new folder and give a name of like 06 of creative menus, and inside that I'm gonna have to create a few folders like O1 menu, and then O2 menu, and then finally O3 dot menu. And then inside this first folder I'm gonna create 2 files given name of index.html and style.css. okay, and inside this file I'm gonna write like doc type HTML and creative menu effects or effect, and then I'll link it with my CSS. And now I'll close both of these files and copy it, paste it in this folder and paste it also in this folder. Now I'll collapse all of the folders. Okay, so starting from the first menu, I'm gonna just right click on it and open with live server. So for HTML, I'm gonna write just a simple HTML, not like a huge amount of code. In HTML, I'll just write like a section, and I want to give a class of container. And did I spell it correctly? Container, yeah, I did. And then inside this container we're going to be writing like ul, then li, and then anchor tag, and we want them to be like I don't know, 5 of them. So I'll just write like 5 and then hit tab, and it will go to nowhere. And the first one will be just home, and then the second one will be about, and the third one will be services, and fourth one will be portfolio, and the fifth one will be just like contact. So once we save our file, so now let me review this HTML code. So we have a section and we give a class of container, and inside this section container we have this ul. Inside this ul we have this li, we have 5 li's, and inside each li we have this anchor tag right here. So this is how the code looks like. So once we just, I guess I'll just go with the like this style. Okay, so this is just a simple HTML. So now let's jump right into a style sheet and just style it a bit. So the first thing which we have to do is to just provide a little bit of resets for ourselves. So I'll just write like padding of 0, and then duplicate, and then margin of 0, and then box sizing or border box. Okay, so it will just remove their empty spaces which is there. Okay, and then finally we are going to be writing a container. We're going to be selecting that container which is right here, and then we are going to be providing the name of that container. And then first of all we have to provide a height of 100 vh because we want this container to take all of this entire viewport height, and then we want to center everything which is inside this container. So for that we are going to be using a flex box. So display will be flex, justify content will be center, align items will be center, and then font family will be sans serif. Okay, you can choose whichever font you like, but in my case I want to just go with the sans serif font, and the background will be totally black. So once we save our file, so everything is now perfectly centered, and we've got our background, and we also got a sans serif font to all of these anchor tags right here. Okay, so the next thing which you have to style is this ul right here. So you want to style this ul right now, and you want to make them like inline. So for that we have to select this ul, and then we are going to be just providing like a padding of 0, and then duplicate, and margin will be also 0, and then display will be inline, and then not inline, or instead of inline I'll just write like flex, and then flex wrap will be wrap, and then text align will be centered. So once we save our file, so here you can see now our text is inline, but here you can also see these dots. I guess you can see that, but this is the first one, this is the second one, third one, and the fourth one. Okay, so now we want to remove this decoration. So for that we have to select this li, which is coming from these text decoration are coming from this li right here. So now we have to select this li. So for that I'm gonna write like ul li, and then I'll just write like text decoration of none. So once we save our file, so that decoration will be gone. It's not gone. Okay, so I'm writing a text decoration. Instead of text decoration, I'll just write like list style of none. So once you save a file, so here you can see that list style will be now gone. So text decoration is applied when you want to remove that underline decoration from each of these anchor tags. So my bad. So for that, I'm gonna write like ul, li, and anchor tag. So now we are selecting this anchor tag right here, which is inside this li right now. So now we are selecting that anchor right now, and inside this anchor tag I'm gonna just write like text decoration of none. So here you can see it will now remove that underline border. Okay, and then color will be totally white, and then font size will be 22 pixel, and padding will be 1 rem from top and bottom, and then 2 rem from left and right, and then position will be relative. And so once we save our file, so this is how it looks like right now. I just way zoomed in, so that's why it's looking a bit ugly. All right, so this is how it looks like right now. Okay, so the next thing which you have to do is to just provide a before selector to this anchor tag, and we write this position relative right here because we want to use a before and after pseudo selector for this anchor tag. So that's why we provide this position relative right now. Okay, so I'll just select this anchor tag and I'll just write before, and content will be just nothing, like empty content, and position will be absolute. So this one is relative position, so this one is now absolute. So this before selector will be inside of this anchor tag right here. Okay, so you will see that what I mean just in a second. So let me write the code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So the next thing I'll do is I'll just provide a top 0, and then the left 0, and then the width will be 100%, and the height will be 2 pixel, and the background will be totally white. And then I want to just write like transform of scale of 0, and then you want to provide a transition to it because you want to provide a hover start, so that's why we have to provide transitions to it. And then transform origin will be just left. So once we save our file, nothing's gonna happen because we didn't provide any hover effect to it. So I want to zoom out a bit so that you guys can see everything a bit better. So this is the before one. So now you want to provide an anchor of hover. So once we hover over that, oh sorry, I meant to provide let me just select it really specifically. So I'll just write ul, li, then anchor tag, and once we hover the before state of that anchor tag, so then we want to provide like transform of scale x, and you want to just scale it 1%. So once we save our file, so this is what's going to happen right now. Here you can see it will take a little bit of time. That's because of this transition right here, because we provide this transition to all of them, and it will take 1 second. So once I comment this line out, and once we save our file, and once we hover our mouse over to it, so everything will just happen in a second. So that's not what we want. And so once we provide 1 second of transition, save our file, so it will now take 1 second right now. Okay, you can go with like, I don't know, 2 seconds if you want to, but that's not going to be look that much cool. So I guess that one will be fine. So this is the before state. So now let's provide an after state to it. So I'll just write like not ul, but just anchor tag and after, and the content will be just empty content, and then position will be also absolute because we want them to be inside the relative. So I'll just provide a bottom of 0 and the left of 0, and then width will be 100%, and the height will be 2 pixel, and the transform will be scale x, and we want them to be 0, and transition will be all 1 second, and then transform origin will be, okay, I was working the transition. Transform origin will be just to the right now. So once we save it, now we have to select that after as well. So I'm going to remove that and also this comma, and now change this one to after and save our file. And now once we have our mouse over to it, so nothing's going to happen. Why? Let me see what's wrong. Okay, so I forgot to provide a background color of totally white, so that's why it's not working. So there we go, and here it should be, instead of scale, it should be scale x. So this is now looking good. So here you can see once we have our mouse over to it, it's now providing just a border right here. Okay, so this was our first menu. So you can change everything you want, like you can change the background color, you can change the border color, or you can change like whatever you want. You can just play around with it. So just download this repository, or you can just copy the code from my GitHub repository, or you can do whatever you want with that. So this was our first menu. So now let's jump right into the second menu. So I'll just open my live server right here, and now for HTML I'm gonna just write a code of, and I'm gonna also open my CSS style as well. All right, so for HTML I'm gonna just write like container. You can wrap it with section if you want to, and then ul, li, and then anchor tag, and we want them to be like 5 of them. So I'll just write 5, and we'll go to nowhere. The first one we have is a home, and the second one we have is about, third one we have is a services, and fourth one we have is a team, and fifth one we have is a contact. Okay, and we also have to provide a class to all of these LIs. So I'll just write like class of list items. Okay, so once we save our file, so this is just HTML. The first thing which we did is we just create a container, and we wrap our nav or ul li inside this container. So we have this ul, and inside this ul we have li, and inside this li we have an anchor tag, and each anchor tag will have a class of list items, and it will go to nowhere. And first of all we have the home, about, services, team, and contact. Okay, so this is just HTML if you want to write that. And now let's jump right into a CSS and just format that a bit. Okay, so I'm gonna just zoom in a bit, and first of all we have to write our resets. So padding will be 0, and then margin will be also 0, and then box sizing will be border box. And now let's select our first container right now. So I'm gonna just copy the name of it, and then just write a dot and container. And inside this container we have to provide a height of 100 vh, display of flanks, justify content of center, align items of center, and then font family you can choose whatever you want, but I will just choose sans serif. So now everything is center. Okay, so the next thing which you have to do is to select this ul right now, a ul which is inside the container. So I'll just write like ul, and then just write like margin of 0, padding of 0, and display will be flex. So once we save our file, so now everything is in line, and here you can see we have this list tiles right here. So now we want to remove that list tile as well. So for that we have to select our li right now, and then list tile will be none. So once we save our file, so that list tile will be gone. And the next thing which you have to do is to just select our class, which is this list items. So I'll go to my CSS, and now I'm going to select this list items, and then position will be relative, and display will be in this case block, and padding will be 15 pixel and 30 pixel. And then we have a text decoration. I mean like these underline line right here, these are known as a text decoration. If you guys don't know about that, I know you do. So then I'll just write none, so it will now remove that text declaration from it. And then we have to provide a text transform, and it will be in uppercase because we want all of the text to be uppercase. And then we have a color of totally black, font size of 22 pixel, and then font weight of bold, and then transition because we want to provide a hover state to it, so that's why we are providing a transition to it. And here you can see this is how it looks like right now. Okay, so now you want to provide before studio selector, so I'm gonna just write like list items and then before. Okay, and content will be nothing, just empty content right now. And then position will be absolute, and top will be 0, and left will be also 0, and width will be 100%, and height will be also 100%. Okay, and now I want to provide a background color just to see like what's going on. So instead of I'll just write teal right now, or crimson will be fine. You can choose whichever color you like, and opacity will be 0 because once we hover over to it, so that's why we want opacity to be 1. So now here we are just writing opacity to 0, and then transform will be not origin but transform will be just equals to scale y, and it will be now equal to 2, and then transition will be 1 second because we want to provide a hover state to it. And then border top will be 2 pixels solid crimson, and then border bottom will be also 2 pixel and solid crimson. So once we hover mouse over to it, so nothing's gonna happen because we provide this content but we didn't provide any hover state to it. So let's suppose if we hover over this list tile, hover and then before selector, and then transform, and now you want to scale it up a bit, so like scale Y of 1.2, and opacity will be 1. Here you can see the opacity is 0, so once we hover over to this button, so the opacity will be 1 and it will scale from 1.2. so once we save our file, and here you can see we have this red triangle right here, rectangle to be precise. And if you remove this background color, like let's suppose if I just remove that, save our file, and now once we hover our mouse over to it, so here you can see we just get our border top and border bottom, which is we provide right here. Okay, so this was the first step. So now the next step which you have to do is to just provide the after state. So whenever we hover our mouse over to it, we want to see rectangle right here. Okay, a rectangle kind of box right here. So for that we have to provide a little bit more code. So now I'll just write like after, so I'll write list items, and after state content will be empty, and then background will be crimson. You can choose whichever color you like. Position will be absolute, and then top will be 2, left will be 0, and width will be 100%. Now let me just scroll down a bit, and then height will be also 100%. Height, not he, and transition will be 1 second, and transform will be scale 0. Z index will be -1. Okay, so once we hover mouse over to it, it's gonna happen because we didn't provide any hover state to it. So if you select this list items and then hover and then after, now you want to select the after and transform of scale 1, because we want to just grow this scale from 0 to 1. So once we save our file and once we hover our mouse over to it, so this is looking cool and we are almost done, but one thing is left because we want to change the color of this text to be white once we hover our mouse over to it. So for that we have to select this like list items, and now we want to work with the hover, so color will be totally white, and that's gonna be it. So once we hover our mouse over to it, so here you can see this is looking cool. Okay, so that was it about the second project. Now the second what can I give a name, the second part of this video. There we go. So I'm gonna remove both of them, and now let's jump right into the third project, the third menu to be precise. Open it with the live server, and then so the third project HTML going to be start from the container, and then we have a UL, then li, then anchor tag, and we want them to be 5. So now it will give us 5. Okay, so here I'll just go with first of all the home, then the about, then services, and then team, and then finally contact. Okay, so now I also have to provide a clauses to each of them. So I'm gonna just provide a clause of list items. So once we save our file, so first of all we have a container. Inside this container we have is a UL tag, and inside this UL tag we have is a li, and each li will have anchor tag. It will go to nowhere, and then we provide a class of list items, and a text we provide a home, about, services, team, and contact. So now if we jump right into a CSS, the first thing which you have to do is to select the padding will be 0. We want to provide a resource for ourselves, and then box sizing will be border box. Okay, so once we save it, so it will just remove that empty space from there, and then we have to select our container, and we want to provide a height of 100 vh. Display will be flex because we want everything to be perfectly centered. Justify corner will be center, align items will be center, font family will be sans serif, and background color will be totally black. Okay, so this is how it looks like currently because we want everything to be perfectly centered. So now let's just make this one inline. So for that we have to just select like UL and then provide display of flex. So once we save it, so here you can see it's now perfectly centered, but we can also see these decoration. So now you want to remove that, so I'll just write UL li anchor tag. You know, I'll select this li first of all, and list style will be none, and now that's gone. And now let's work with our anchor tag, which is right here. Okay, so now let's select that. We already did that, but now the text will be totally white, and the font size will be 2 rem, and the text decoration will be none. Padding will be 0.4 rem and 1 rem. 0.4 from top and bottom, and 1 rem left and right, and margin will be 0, and 10 pixel. And then we have a position of relative and transition of all 0.5 seconds. Once we save our file, and this is how it looks like right now. This is how it looks like right now, because we didn't provide any hover or any before and after stats to it. So you know, I'll also provide text transform of uppercase, because we want them to be like uppercase. This is looking cool. And then we want to work with the before state, so I'll just write list items and then before, and for that I'm gonna just provide a content of nothing. Position will be absolute, and bottom will be tag 12 pixel, and left will also tag 12 pixel. Let me just scroll down a bit, and width will be also 12 pixel, and height will be also 12 pixel. And then we have a border of 3 pixel, 3 pixel solid white, and then we have is a border width will be just 0 0 and 3 pixel, and also 3 pixel. And opacity will be 0, because we want to increase that once we hover our mouse over to it, and transition will be all 0.6 seconds. So once we save our file, nothing's gonna happen, because we write our code but we didn't provide any hover stat to it. So if we provide a hover stat like list items before hover, okay, now I guess it should be hover and then before. This is looking cool. And now we want to increase the opacity to 1. We want to change the bottom to -8 pixel, and we want to also change this left to -8 pixel as well. So once we have our mouse over to it, so here now you can see we have this arrow kind of thing, but it's not arrow, it's just an actual box. Let me just show you that very quickly. If we change the background color of it to like white, and save our file, and once you hover mouse over to it, so here you can see this is just a box. This is just a box, but we didn't provide any background color to it, and we are now selecting just a border, so that's why we are getting this kind of error right now. Okay, so you can mess around with this code however you want, but I'm just showing you the code right now. So now that was the before state, so now let's work with the after state. So I'll just write like list items, and now let's work with the after effect. Content will be nothing, position will be absolute, and top will be 0, right will be 0, and width will be 12 pixel, and height will be also 12 pixel, and then border will be 3 pixel solid white, and then border width will be just like 3 pixel, copy it, paste it one more time, 3 pixel, 0 and 0. And then we have an opacity of 0, and transition will be all 0.6 seconds. Okay, so now we write our code. So now let's write a hover effect for that. So I'll just write list items, and after, not after, but hover, want to hover over the after effect. Okay, so opacity will be 1, top will be -8 pixel, and right will be also -8 pixels. So once I hover my mouse over to it, so here you can see we are now getting this kind of cool effect right now. Okay, so this is quite simple and easy to work with. Alright, so that was it about today's video. So the first thing which we build is once we hover our mouse over to this menu, so it will give us this border top and bottom right here, and that was just a little bit tricky one. And then we see this one, so it will give us the border top and bottom, but also it will give us this kind of box right here. So once we hover our mouse over to it, and the third menu we build is it will give us this arrow to the left and right here. So I guess like this is quite simple and easy, but it will really affect your UI once you're building these kind of cool menus and these buttons which we built in the previous videos. Alright, so that was it about today's project. If you guys don't know about Git and GitHub, so you can skip the rest of the video, and if you guys do know about Git and GitHub, so you can watch the rest of the video. Like if you want to push your code to your GitHub repository, so you can just stick around for a second. Alright, so now we are working with the HuXn. So now let me zoom out a bit, and now let me check git status, and it's like we have this one file which is not staged and not pushed yet. So I'll just try like git add everything. Okay, so it will now add everything, and git commit -m creative menu effects added, and then a pow, and finally get push origin man. And if I hit enter right here, and it will push it to my GitHub repository. Alright, so that's cool. So now let's check our GitHub repository really quickly. github.com. What was the repository name? I forgot. Let me go to my GitHub repository really quickly. And also it was this one. This one is also private. All of our code is in here. 2 commits. Yeah, that was it. And now here you can see we have this creative menu right here. So if you click on that, so we have the first menu code, which is this HTML file. Here you can see that, and then we have this CSS file right here. Here you might say like this repository is private. That's because this course isn't launched yet. So once this course is launched, like whenever you're watching this video, this course will be already launched. So this will not be private, this will be public. So you can check on my repository, you can get all of your code. And by the way, this is a 100 projects course. Okay, so I guess that was it about today's video, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.